one more question. How many feet away from Juan Soto do you have to be? What is the protection from order state?
You know what? I just ripped up the piece of paper. I didn't even look at it. I don't care. Restrictions can't hold me back. Laws can't hold me back. The restraining orders mean nothing to me. Juan Soto is the GOAT.
Just people, find someone out there that loves you as much as Dinardo loves Juan Soto. It's a beautiful thing.
Facts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag, now part of the Pulse Podcast Network. In this episode, I talk about the Pirates season with Dinardo from the North Shore 9 podcast. I bring back Pip and Jeff Say to talk about the state of the Steelers during the bye week, and I have my weekly recap of the weekend's NFL action with Coach Warzu. One note, if you're listening to this, please subscribe, either on Podbeam or however you're listening to this right now. It does help a lot, so please do that. The Donut Bag starts right now. All right, now to do a review of the Pirates and maybe a preview of the offseason, I have one half of the award-winning North Shore 9 podcast, Mr. Dinardo. Did you know you're award-winning?
I was not aware of this. Where this award come from?
I can't say because it's a family broadcast, but it's you won a major award.
A major award?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you'll find out.
Must have been Italian.
I just tagged you guys because I saw there was a picture of somebody listening to something and their ears were bleeding, and I said, what were they listening to? And I said, probably North Shore 9.
Oh yes, I did see that, and that's quite accurate. I'm sure that's what it was. So absolutely.
So let's go all the way back to the last off season, which was very interesting for the Pirates. They get rid of Garrett Cole, Andrew McCutchen, and people lose their minds. Oh my goodness. That was one of the worst times on Twitter ever.
I mean, could you be selling them short? Could this be the first time that losing your minds was possibly an understatement? Like you said, I mean, it was brutal on Twitter, every channel, the radio, everything.
It made the 2000 the election that Trump got elected. It made that look like a Chuck E. Cheese party or something like that.
Maybe that was the plan.
Maybe.
Yeah,
it was
divert
like
that attention.
Battle lines were clearly drawn. You were either pro Pirates or against them. It was crazy. I remember. I wish I could pull this up. There was an ESPN. They did like a preview or something like that, or like a season outlook, and they basically just trashed the Pirates. Like, oh, they don't care. They're not even interested in winning. It was a complete disaster. I think the big turning point was the Corey Dickerson trade.
Sure.
And how did you expect Corey Dickerson to be that good? Or at least that good for all year?
Not at all. And I think the thing is, too, when you say how good he was, offensively, though he did it a bit different, less power, but, more average. I think he produced offensively about as what I expected him to do. Again, a little bit differently, but as far as value, about the same. But he really did it defensively, and that's what's the shock the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone claimed he'd be, why make this trade for a DH? Well, I think you're, underselling him a bit for his defense. It's not that bad. I mean, we did have Andrew McCutchen in center field for how many years? We saw bad defense. It wasn't that bad, but albeit I was not expecting anything solid, and then when you have Starling Marte moving to center, yeah, he's a great defender, but it's really a new position full time for him. Who knows what Polanco brings you every day. And now you have Dickerson. So, yeah, I had question marks about the outfield, that's for sure. But no, I mean, he absolutely surprised me. Defensively, he was fantastic. One of the better left fielders in the game, in PNC, which is a hard place to play left field.
What surprised me about him was he had a reputation for being good for a few months and then being absolutely horrible in the second half of the season. And he was just fine all year.
Yeah, that was one thing too, the narrative, right? Like, he's a first half player, second half he falls apart, which is absolutely true last year. He was an all-star, which you only need to be good for half a season to be an all-star in MLB, which is what he did. So in second half, he really fell apart. You saw signs of it this year though, Joey. In July, he was hot as hell. And then he had the injury. He won the DL for a little bit, came back. And when he came back, he just was brutal. But I think a lot really equated to the injury in that sense. Since September 5th, he came back and, I think he finished the year batting like 360, slugging like close to 600 or 700. I don't know the numbers right now, but he tore it up. So made me feel more confident in him putting a full season in. Maybe it's more to the fact of the injury, that slump he had. But yeah, for the most part, he did it all year.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really, I don't know if that just fell on their lap or they always planned on getting an outfielder. I don't know. It
fell in the lap. it fell. You got to give credit where credit's due. In a sense, he did. They did make the move. Huntington did make the move to get him. Albeit, I'm not sure what the Rays were really doing. Yeah, it made sense to them. They got C.J. Cron, was cheaper, so it was almost essentially a solid replacement for less money, but I just felt like you had to have been able to obtain more than Daniel Hudson and a guy that's never going to make the majors likely for, Corey Dickerson. So yeah, I'm sure that wasn't the intention to always get Corey Dickerson because, he was a Tampa Bay Ray the whole time. So yeah, I think he fell in the Pirates' lap and they got lucky there.
That was the other amazing part of that deal. Not only did they get Corey Dickerson, which ended up being a good player, but they get rid of Daniel Hudson. What on earth? That Tampa Bay GM needs to be checked for. There needs to be drug testing among GMs because I did not understand that trade at all.
And what's funny is, I'll take Tampa Bay's GM all day. Pirates get a lot of slack for being cheap too, right? Tampa Bay's that way as well. But look at their stadium, look at their fans. Much like the Marlins, you can kind of understand why. They don't have a whole lot of money funneling into that organization. So, what they work with, they do some pretty sly moves to get competitive every year. But yeah, I just don't get it. You would have to think they would have got more. At least a C prospect,
right. Just something.
For Dickerson is coming off still an all-star season. He has the power, which you need in this day. Still 2 years of cheap controllability. I don't know. I was shocked. I was shocked when I heard the Pirates made the trade, and when I saw what it was, I was just blown away.
Yeah, it was total. It was addition and then addition by subtraction. So it was amazing. So they start the season and they started in the best possible way. They go on a nice hot streak. I forget what exactly their record was in the beginning. Actually, it was for a while. It was for like a month or two. They did really well. I think they were like 11 games over 500 at one point. And then it kind of falls apart in the middle of the year and up until like June or so. And you think, oh, well, so much for this. They're about to trade off anybody with a salary by Jay Hay, by Freeze. And then this is to me one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in sports. They basically they basically just kept winning and forced the team to be buyers. But what were you thinking around, let's say, mid-July when they went on this amazing hot streak?
Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. And they fell for it. Ryan and I talked about, what's funny is we've mentioned this, I think, like the past 2 seasons around the All-Star break on our show. And, both years, even though obviously we finished under 500, both years we were hanging about that around the trade deadline. And it was like, don't fall to this fool's gold. Like, recognize your team for what it is. It's not that good. You don't really have that base to build upon, like you might have previous seasons to make, a run. Don't do it. Just sell off the pieces. And it's like both the years they've kind of done like a little buying and selling. Yeah, you can argue, what you think about them, but overall they weren't horrible. But this year, like you said, it was a 12 in a row, and right at the deadline, right at the deadline. And it's like, what got me is they needed to win 12 in a row just to get to 500.
Right.
And of course, no one was playing well at that time. So, I mean, the Pirates were right technically into the thick of the things. And I was just like, don't fall for it. And they did. And I'll tell you what, though, Chris Archer, Keon Kella, wow. When have the Pirates ever done that? It's like not that only they fall for it, but I mean, they went out and went big.
Biggest shock I've ever seen from this team ever. Winning the trade deadline, except for I guess the Dodgers getting Machado, but the pitcher that everybody wanted, and then they end up going to the Pirates. Like, I just could not believe that. I don't know. Do you think they did that maybe to make fans becoming the one thing? Attendance was way down, so I wonder if they did that to maybe as a little PR to the fans to say, hey, we are committed to winning, or we are committed to going out and make the big move. I don't know.
Joe, I have different thoughts and opinions. Only one can speculate at this point in time. I've said it numerous times, and I still stick with that. I mean, it's my gut. Any GM that listens to the fans is a fire GM. I don't care what the perception was. Like, I would respect Huntington more if he didn't want to get Chris Archer and stick with that instead of getting Archer because, the fans' perception is such. Because when you're starting to make deals and make moves because of what fans, perception is and thoughts, what are you really doing as a GM? It's to me, that's a lost GM and you're on your way out. So I want to say I hope not. Now, you can certainly feel that could be the possibility. But, something I've talked about, and again, just pure speculation, right? But Neil Huntington has been respected around Major League Baseball for a while. He was a GM of the year. He does with what he works with. I know the draft isn't ideal, but the stuff, the moves that he makes, the stuff that he's done in the past, I look at it as, he signed an extension last year, 4 years, right? He's got 3 years left. Now, Joe, that's a window, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a window. And if you look at this Pirates, the way they're built right now, the window they could potentially have, it's basically 3 years. It's either you're looking and saying, let's just do a total rebuild, kind of like the Astros and White Sox have done, or we have a core here. Maybe it's not the best core per se, but if we build upon it, we have something the next 3 or 4 years. Maybe this is Huntington's way of saying, listen, I have 3 years left. I'm going to do the damn thing, and apparently because he has Nutting support, because Nutting said, if you think it's going to make it's the best move, do it. He's going to do it. He's going to make a name for himself and show the big boys what he can do. And if it goes well, might be the last we see Huntington in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I guess he figures he's just going to go out with a bang. Or maybe Nutting said to him is like, listen, you kind of screwed this up. You did great, 2013 and 2015, and then screwed it up. So, okay, I'll give you this. I'll give you this contract extension, but that's it. You either get something going or you're done. So maybe that's it too. Yeah,
could be.
It's amazing. It was just that the entire month of July and then the trade deadline was just absolutely amazing for the Pirates. And yeah, and then they should have listened to you, because right after the trade deadline they just tanked. And just like, and you have to expect that. You're right. Like, you can't go on this massive winning streak and it's not just going to last forever, So
yeah, I mean, the laws of averages, they weren't as bad as at their worst, which is, you mentioned, in the middle of May and into